Thank you all for attending the Columbia 911 Communication District's Quarterly Advisory Committee today, July 28th at 12 p.m. At the 911 Center. We'll start with introductions or any introductions or everybody other than some folks that are making presentations. I think we know everybody online. Any additions to the agenda?
Not from staff that I'm aware of.
Any other additions from members of the committee?
No message here.
Okay. So we need action. We need approval of the April 28th, 2026 meeting minutes. They were on the back table. Hopefully we've had a chance to look at them.
So move.
Been moved by Chief Mark. Second. Any further discussion on the minutes? All in favor of approving the April 28th, 2026 regular meeting minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next on the agenda is election of advisory committee positions, chair and co-chair. Currently, I'm the chair. Chief Llewellyn is the co-chair, so if somebody would like to oust us, that'd be fantastic. So if somebody'd like to jump up.
Or hurt my feelings.
Yeah. The motions or candidates on the floor. I guess hearing none.
I nominate Smythe.
Second.
Fantastic. All right. Okay, so for chair, any other nominees besides myself? Okay, I guess we'll go and do a vote in. We all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so no. So we have co-chair. I nominate Chief Llewellyn for another year. I need a good co-chair, and I like the idea of one fire, one police being on the chair and co-chair. So I nominate Chief Llewellyn.
My feelings. If that is all.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any other candidates? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hey, Chief Llewellyn, we're back out again. Another year.
Great team.
Nice.
Good teamwork.
Okay, district updates. Operational report.
This is the first time that we're meeting since the election results. An update on our current staffing. We have 7 full-time communication specialists, 2 part-time, 2 lead dispatchers who fulfill full-time certified positions, with 2 trainees and 1 starting on August 10th, which will bring us to 3 full-time trainees. We have a current promotion process that I've rolled out for the 3rd remaining lead position to be filled. Our intent there is to kind of bolster our support for our current staff since we will be able to hire more. Our entry and lateral level rolling recruitment that we started in June of 2025 yielded 3 new hires and 2 that are going to have to remain on an eligibility list until a final position is open. Our staff shortages persist and our console coverage remains a challenge, requiring both the training coordinator, the operations manager, and the executive director to cover so that we can meet the minimum critical criteria. Our current staff are also currently often working below. The district was previously funded for 17 full-time positions, is now only funded for 13. Our rolling recruitment is now closed due to a hiring freeze caused by the levy. We have 2 full-time trainees that are doing really well. One's going to be released in the middle of August, and we're planning for our fall training October 5th and October 16th. Kirby is going to be attending a national conference to hopefully bring back some training for our staff, and all staff are currently in compliance. We do appreciate the continued support with our social media campaigns to educate the public. I do have some really exciting news. So this is the 2nd year in a row that our district's going to have representation and receive a state award. Our training team has been nominated and awarded the Commitment to Excellence Award. for our training team. This award is due to our team members involved in leadership, innovation, and dedication to rebuilding a comprehensive, sustainable training program during a period of significant organizational challenge. The staff involved are Coach, Brogley, Newman, Duran, Wilson, Warren, and Hughes. Brogley and Duran will be representing the district in the fall in September to go and receive that award. Very proud of them. There was a lot of really hard work that went into this. Our summer events are going well. We have 2 big ones remaining, Vernonia, Sudbury, and Hood to Coast. Our monthly law enforcement meetings that I mentioned last time are going really well. And I did want to just give a shout out. I really appreciate all of the collaboration for that recent radio site survey work on the operations side. I really appreciated how calm and organized everything was. So thank you. Does anybody have any questions for operations?
I just had a quick question. So, with the numbers you gave with your current FTEs and those 3 trainees, that's going to take you to 10 full-time, not counting the senior staff that are helping on the line?
It's 13 full-time equivalent positions, so it'll be 14 people, 2 of them being part-time. So it'll leave us a whole of 4 permanent vacancies. Thank you.
Any other question for Nell? Okay, equipment and technology, Nathan?
Yeah, so starting with the radio system, we fixed the vehicle gate over at Quarry Hill. It was starting to sag really bad. We was able to never secure it. Over at Quarry Hill as well, one of the HVAC units died, got it replaced, and as soon as we got it replaced, the other one died. So right now we're just gonna pray that the first one holds up for the summer. Put up some livestock fencing at Bald Hill. The cows are very much in love with our cables and are rubbing up against them pretty hard. So we're going to keep them off. For Magix CAD, we're still testing new versions of CAD. We have a go live date set February 23rd. And we're still just configuring the new system and making sure everything works as it should. We have a new audio recorder. It won't bring any new features. It's just a hardware refresh. The hardware isn't serviceable anymore. We replaced our firewall system, so the heart of our network. We now have redundancy, so we have 2 firewalls now. So if one fails, it will swap over to the second firewall automatically. That increase our downtime, or increase our uptime. We had minimal downtime during the switch. We attended the Next Gen 911 Roadshow. We are in the first round of phone upgrades, so we'll be going digital here pretty soon. For facility, not a whole lot's been going on. We replaced our utility meter. Nothing major happened. Our UPS and generator kicked on. Any questions?
Question for Nathan? Okay. Thank you, Nathan. Director report?
All right, so just off the top, meetings attended. Every month I attend the Portland Dispatch Consortium meeting, which is basically the metro area organizations and 911. So Multnomah County, Clackamas County, Lake Oswego, Cressa, Clark County, and ourselves. We attend that meeting monthly, as well as the Magix, which is specifically based around the CAD system. So pretty much the same organizations, just minus Multnomah County and Cressa, as they are not actually on the Magix dispatch system. I attended Fire Defense Board, the OEM monthly update, Homeland Security and Emergency Management Committee meeting, and then the Law Enforcement Leadership Committee. I just want to reiterate how much I appreciate the opportunity to do the Fire Defense Board and also the Chiefs meeting. It is nice to be invited to the table as part of the conversation, both on the fire and the leader and the law enforcement side of this county. It is one of the things that we as an organization want to do, is be as involved with you guys as humanly possible, so we can go forward as a into making positive change. So again, thank you all for welcoming us at the table of both those conversations. It does mean a lot for our organization. The projects I've been working on, of course, the radio update, which we have some presentations coming today from two of our vendors, as well as management team evaluations. The board of directors created a evaluation for myself. I am working on one now for my management team. Once we get the management teams updated, we'll create one for the floor staff as well. It's a practice that has slowly just kind of fallen off of the projects list due to our organization's changes, and we need to get back into practice of getting everybody's evaluations done from the top to the bottom. One of the things about my evaluation is that the staff gets to have their say, not just management, but the dispatch staff also get to have their make their statements so that I hear that as well. It's a great process, responsible not only to my board of directors, but all the way down to my people on the front line. So that's events that I attended. We did the Columbia County Fair, thanks to Nikki and putting in so many hours over the weekend, and myself. We staffed the booth as much as we possibly could for the weekend. We just did not have the numbers with people being out to be able to offer overtime to our dispatch staff to the booth. So Nikki especially put in a lot of hours out there shaking hands and being present for our booth, and I want to recognize her for that extra effort this year. It is not part of her normal duties. She did it out of the kindness and dedication to the organizations. I will be out of the office also attending APCO International August 3rd through the 6th. I will be available by cell phone and email, it just may be delayed. All right, that's it for my update. That's it. We're on to the next presentation.
I have a go back question.
Yes, sir.
So you're down 4 positions. How's that going to affect staff in terms of like work to rest ratio? Are they going to be able to not have? How much mandated overtime is this going to cause?
Quite a bit, especially because we have staff members that are babies and there's going to be leaves of absence. Most of our staff are working 14-hour shifts on a fairly regular basis with 10 hours off in between their shifts. If it gets worse than that, I'm coming in. I've done just in the last week 2 graveyards, which has honestly caused me to cancel my daytime meetings. It is really having an impact for sure.
So what's the sustainability for this staffing model? I hear what you're telling us now, but I think it's important that we're not looking short or looking long term. So yeah, how long can this model be sustained before you have people quitting or the employees are making mistakes that cause problems for fire? And
It's a real concern. And to compound that, that we've had in training, in order to get them fully staffed, is a lot of wear on our current staff. They're training full time on top of their job, on top of the hours. So we are doing our best to support them by coming out there and working the console as much as we safely can. We're going to do the best that we can. It's very important. If you guys have any impact, I want to hear from you first. Just because we're in this position doesn't mean that I don't want feedback. Let me know if you do see signs of struggling with our maintenance.
again, I'll go back to the question. I didn't get the answer I was hoping for. Sustainability. How long do you think you can sustain this for? Because if we're going to provide input as a user board, we need to have a better understanding of, can the employees go a month, 2 months, 6 months? Like, what's the breaking point? Or what do you think the breaking point is? Because if it's 2 months, then all of us could have some serious conversations about what we can do to staffing back up so that we don't have burnout.
Is this based on the current schedule or have you looked at the schedule?
We have looked at other schedule options. I'm not sure how many are familiar, but the dispatchers have an association contract. As far as sustainability, I wish I had a better answer. These staff that are in training, that could really have an impact. Training is very difficult. It's not a given that they make it through training. They have to work pretty hard. I really don't know the sustainability for the length of time. I do know that my staff are currently tired. They're currently stressed. They're currently working long hours. And like I said, I've got staff that are gonna go out on leave. That could be a tipping point. When we celebrate babies, this is nothing about that, like, and feel the impact.
No, I appreciate that, that it's hard to come up with a time frame, but I think for us to best help you, I don't know, doesn't help us.
I
If
know.
you say, look, I think we can go 2 months, okay, now we can have like we have a starting point for a conversation, but the unknown isn't gonna give you what you need. And that's what I'm asking for. Your best guess. I'm not saying you have accurate data, but your best guess is gonna give us that starting point.
My very best guess is that the winter time brings quite a punch, and by then I could really see us having an impact.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
That's helpful.
storm season for dispatchers out on top of the holidays and their families and the weather and finances. I feel like that's going to become more acute then.
And we are looking at some other options. I have not had an opportunity to bring it to the board yet, but I would like to have a conversation with the board of directors at the upcoming meeting about bringing in a couple of contract dispatchers. There is inherently a bit of a savings built in financially for us, but again, it's a short-term cover for, a year max. If the union is willing to agree to it. There is, of course, labor conversations that have to occur, but at most, and that's a year. At 18 months, we have to certify them, so they have to go through the academy. So it is one of the options out there to us. It's not a great option, and I don't want us to get used to it being a crutch that holds us. We really need full-time certified people that are part of the union, not temporary contract folks that can up and just walk away at any point in time to take another job at another organization through their company. So there are some other conversations being had. None of them are great options. I mean, we're strapped, Dan. I agree with Danelle. I think winter time with the holidays, winter storms, with trainees, even with them on the floor, with people out, medical leave and stuff, it's going to be a really rough winter for us and for the staff.
I think you're already in the red zone with the fact of how many hours Danielle's been on the console and the fact that you're on the console now. You're already there.
Yeah, it's yeah. I
It's
wish
a really difficult position to be in because we don't want to be in that position and we want to be here supporting all of you and reassuring you. I wish I had a better answer.
Well, no, I
It
think,
could happen any moment.
I think you gave us the answer that I was looking for. So obviously more help now is needed, but it's going to be a crisis come wintertime.
Really see that piece.
Okay, thank you.
Chief Richard, I think that'd be a good discussion for the roundtable. Get to that point, or open it up to the forum and hopefully discuss, but that is a concern. You guys, I mean, look at your guys' numbers, you're even right now, you're at 60, less than about 60%. The best you're going to get up to is about 70%, maybe 75 of staffing. And that will definitely have an impact, especially when we get
and we just completed a staffing study that at best case scenario suggested 15 and a half bodies, and we're already 2.5 below that. So as far as FTEs are concerned.
Pretty of them are in training.
Yeah. And does
They
help
don't
that we were in training, correct? Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, next will be a radio vendor presentation. And you've advised both the presentees at a 15-minute time limit.
Yep, we've given them both an equal 15-minute timeline it's their time to use for what they want. The hope is that at the end of the conversation that you guys will have enough information that you can make a recommendation to move forward on one or the other of the projects, so I can go to the board of directors and make that recommendation on your behalf. That being said, we did a coin toss to make it as equal opportunity, who goes first and who goes second. Communications Northwest gets the first 15 minutes.
Thank you for the time. I'm Chad Lyon, Double Project Manager for Communications Northwest, and Kevin Farley is our Senior Technician and Lead Engineer. And when we were asked to get involved, the question was just what can be done to upgrade the system and provide recommendations and any potential solutions. And obviously, as anybody can hear from this discussion, you need a new system. I mean, point blank, everybody knows that the current system is end of life. A lot of the hardware is unsupported. And it's past the point of needing to be replaced, but just providing a $2 to $3 million, here's your new system recommendation, that could go nowhere. And so really our desire was to be able to provide a solution that could be hopefully implemented in the near term that would give the users in the field an immediate benefit, an immediate improvement, and something tangible. And also something where any investment that is made in these points that we recommend does carry over to a new system. So you're not duplicating money, spending now, that's just wasted money later. All of our recommendations would be able to be carried over, whether it's a future Motorola Kenwood system. They're universal recommendations that would provide an immediate benefit. But to do that, there isn't a lot of legacy information that gets down into the weeds on each site and what's there. So the main thing we needed to do was go to every site, collect our own data, collect our own information, be able to provide our own proposal to make those immediate changes. And really pleased with the information we gathered. Appreciate the help from dispatch and 911 because they did help Ralph, who's online, coordinate the taking each site offline for a period of time and giving us a chance to conduct those tests. Our recommendation is in the full recommendation is in the packet that each one of you, I think, had a chance as well as the breakdown of the price quote for our recommendations for each site. But as far as the information we gathered and how we got that information, passed along to Kevin since he was the centerpiece of getting all these tests completed.
So our focus was, we provided a little bit of preventative maintenance data that had been done historically. We didn't feel like there was enough information there for us to really fully evaluate what the needs were and where we could make the biggest impact for the lowest cost. I mean, the whole focus here is what can we do to provide you with an improved system at a minimal cost? Because obviously cost drives everything, right? So in addition to data that was provided, we elected to visit each site and do some very focused evaluations on specific things at the sites, things that we thought potentially could have a big impact on the performance of the system, things that we thought were important to make sure we're working correctly. So we spent some time sweeping and evaluating all of the antenna systems at the site because there's nothing more important for a radio system than the antenna system. And also did some evaluations of the receive systems and just a general look at what's the health of the system. These are complex radio systems. The simulcast radio system is complex. There's a lot of pieces. We didn't do a comprehensive multi-day. We already spent 2 days. We had 3 technicians doing evaluations over the course of 2 days. But based on the measurements that we took and the data that we collected, we produced this, which if you are having issues with sleeping or anything like that and want to know what I do for a living and how we look at things and what we do when we go out and evaluate things, all the data is in here as far as plots that we captured with different pieces of test equipment, descriptions of what those mean, interpretation of information. The other document is more of a summary of that information with some specific recommendations. But basically what we found was that there are some sites, the system's old, and there are a lot of places where, you go in and look at the system and it's not pretty. But there's a lot of it that, despite the fact that it's obviously been, pieced together in some cases to keep it working, a lot of it is functional. It's not beautiful, but it's functional. And, that's kind of what's the focus here is what's functional, what's not functional, and then prioritize the stuff that's not functional just to bring things up to a baseline where things are working. At a high level, what we found is there are some sites with a number of sites where, particularly on receive antennas, where there are issues right at the antennas. Whether that is coax, whether it's water in the coax, a connector that's come loose, a bad antenna. The only way to evaluate that is actually go up there, pull the junction between the coax and the antenna apart and actually test the cable, test the antenna. And replace the pieces that need to be replaced. We found that some of the frequency references that are crucial to making a simulcast system, the transmit side of a simulcast system work correctly, appear to be offline and not working correctly. That's something that needs to be evaluated in more detail. But part of our proposal is if those need to be replaced, hitting that. Bald Hill site has important missing microwave link effect. All things to try to get that site back online and function. So all that's summarized in the thinner document. And then the details as far as our what we tested and our conclusions are in the larger document. What do you think?
Well, and yeah, I don't think Jeremy has a copy and I presume it's made available if you want it, but the larger document that Kevin's referencing, it has all of the screenshots of the test measurements. It has what's a reading that's within spec, what's out of spec, and for every antenna and piece of equipment, there is a verified, because we did want to give the data behind why the recommendations are what they are, instead of just you need to replace XYZ antenna. Okay, what's wrong with XYZ antenna? I mean, like anything if somebody tells me I need to spend money on, why? And so in this document, we did provide all of the screenshots of here's what the reading should be, here's what your antenna reading is. And so we wanted to provide the raw data and the detail, as well as that information to be able to make a knowledgeable decision. But as Kevin said, this gives a targeted way to, it doesn't give a new system, a cutting edge system. It stabilizes the points that are failing right now and gets all of the sites back in operational and back to a baseline functionality. And really what it does is, our hope is it buys you time to find the funding, to find the grant money, whatever the case may be, to get to the point where you can do the next step, which is really essential, which is getting an upgraded system at some point. But here and now today, you guys need working radios. And so this is our proposal to do our best to get you working radios right here now and today.
Any questions for us?
I just want to confirm, in the beginning, you started out by saying your proposal was going to upgrade our system. And then as you got further into your presentation,
I should not have
mentioned-
used the word upgrade, and thank you for calling me on that. We are not upgrading. I mean, I guess you can say if you put new tires on your truck, it's not an upgrade. I mean, no, the truck is the truck, but now it's running again instead of running on a flat tire. This is not, upgrade is not the word that should be used. This is making targeted service repairs and replacement equipment for equipment that's offline right now to get the system back to a functional level.
There are antennas where, and a bunch of receiver antennas where they're not working well. And in some cases, probably not working at all. Those need to be fixed, because if the site can't hear you, it can't repeat what you're saying for everyone else to do, right? The frequency references that are used on the transmit side, if those aren't working correctly, then what's going to happen is you're going to get basically transmitter interference that's generated by your own transmitter, where they're interfering with each other and causing garbled audio, no audio issues with your ability to hear in the field. So, really what we focused on is how can we bring all of, or as much as we can, bring things back up to a stable system that performs as best it can. But yeah, there's a long way to go as far as I don't know that upgrading this system would be worth the investment. I mean, I think it's
That's a separate conversation.
That's a separate conversation. Yeah. If you're living on borrowed time with the equipment you've got, well, a lot of it is out of is long out of production.
Two other questions. Number one is based on the improvements that you have proposed, what type of additional coverage do you think we would get back? And when in how you answer the question, I'm looking for percentages. So if we start with a perfectly capable working system at 100%, where do you think we're at now on that percentage scale? And where do you think we'll be with the improvements? And then the second part of the question is, why should we go with you over the other proposal? What do you have to offer that we're not getting right now that should influence, or that should influence the deliberation and the discussion on picking a vendor?
Your first question, as far as percentage, that's a tough one to answer.
Guesstimate is fine.
I would say that if we said, hey, how well does this behave, at its best, turn it all up and get everything working, if that's 100%, I would say that you're probably at 70%
right
at
now.
this point right now.
Okay.
And I think this would potentially get back up to 100%. Well, the fact that you've got a lot of receive antennas and receive systems that are degraded is a big problem, because it means you're not getting heard. Particularly if you're on portables, you're not getting heard. The simulcast interference, it's a little bit hard to judge that as far as, so we noticed that there were certain indicators on some of the frequency references that are off. The vendor documentation says that means they aren't working correctly. The simulcast interference is more system talking out to you, and that would be spotty. That's one of those things where it would be specific locations. It could be bad right here. You move over 3 feet, it could be fine. Or constantly be varying or spots where you have no audio or garbled audio. But I would say if I pull a number out of the air and say, how's it working right now? I would say you're probably at 70%. And, like for the Scappoose Vernonia Highway, where Ball Hill basically is looking right down there and really is targeted at covering that, I would say you're probably more like at 10%. So in that specific location, because that site really has so much impact on that. So
We're well aware of that.
well, I mean, I'm sure you are, but that's one of the sites that we focused on, is in our proposal is, hey, we got to do something with this. So part of our proposal is to get that back online.
So again, we're at 70%. And again, just to move things along, because I know there's other people that have questions, but where do you think we'll get to with the improvements?
I think we can get you back somewhere close to 100%. 100% being,
So 90, 95.
yeah. I mean, I think, we're looking at getting you back to a point it's getting back to as good as the system can be. Given the age of the system and the fact it was designed, I don't want to dive into this rabbit hole, but it was designed around wideband channels spacing at that time, and now it's narrow banded. And there's a bunch of stuff that in the time the system has existed that's degraded the performance of the system. But I think we can get it back to a point where it's performing as best it can be performing, 95, whatever, number.
Excuse me, Chad.
Yeah.
I wonder if you wouldn't mind me just kind of closing real quick with the second answer to the question that the gentleman just asked about why us.
Sure.
So,
Hey, if you want to take that, I will gladly let you.
so folks, as a very recently retired small city police chief right across the river from you, I spent 8 years in the city of Kalama. Retired recently and joined Communications Northwest. I sat on an executive board for Calitz 911 for many years. I can tell you as an end user, nothing frustrated me more than not efficiently and getting to a solution in an efficient and a timely manner. I am still waiting for upgrades to a system that would have brought better coverage to the city of Kalama, and I am now 7 months, 8 months removed from that position. So the good fight keeps on. But what I can tell you about the discovery process, the time that we took to spend on your system, the fact that if the enemy is an aging radio system, the solution is not to carpet bomb the enemy. It's not to say every unit, every site needs new antennas, every site needs a new multi-coupler. Our approach has been surgical. We've used essentially a laser guided missile to tackle some of the issues that we've identified for you. And that's actually allowed us the breathing room to quote you a significant improvement to your system, which is getting that microwave link back up at Bald Hill. So the why is we have technicians that took part in this assessment that actually identified a couple of either broken connectors or deficiencies on the sites, and just went ahead and made a couple of very minor repairs for you while they were there. So if we're talking about service and attention to detail, I can tell you as a former end user and agency head, that's the type of service that I'm looking for. Now, we're closing with that final thought because you asked the question, and it's a very good question. It's a question I would have asked sitting on an executive board or an advisory board. There will be a presentation to follow ours, but what I do want to share with you is that we did take a surgical, very methodical, evidence-led approach to making our recommendations to this body, because, like you, I have been frustrated with a system that just wouldn't respond. Calitz 911 has come a very, very long way now, and I'm proud to have been a part of that. Having joined Communications Northwest and seeing the level of dedication and service to first responders, our team came out there at no cost whatsoever to Columbia 911 to do that 2-day assessment for you. So I would just encourage you, if you do have any questions after the proposals, feel free to circle back. But I do believe that for at least significantly less than what we saw from the minutes at a previous board meeting, we're delivering solutions that most certainly stabilize your system, but also position you well to modernize in the future, because there's just no point in throwing good money after bad. And far too many times for 8 years, I saw a bit of that until we finally got it right. So I would encourage you to ask questions to Chad and Kevin if you have them.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. We went over a little bit, so we'll make sure we give the second presenter the same equal amount of time. We had 20 minutes, so that was obviously some questions. We will have questions after the fact. So next presenter would like to come up.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
One second to get you all set up.
You have a couple slides here.
Yeah. Thanks. Do you want this?
Well, I thank you guys for having us. My name is Chris Tate with Bay Wireless. My sales manager here covers the Oregon, Southwest Washington. Been with us for about 6 years now. Also with our team, we have Jason Kester, Spencer, Sally. You guys have some locally, and then
Chris Fraley.
Chris will be up there. Talking deeper into what we're going to get into today. So, real brief. So, I wanted to take 90 seconds. If you're wondering who's Day Wireless, and maybe you've probably heard of us, but just a quick little touch. Again, we're still family owned. We are growing. We're over 500 employees now. Pretty much primarily West Coast, up and down the West Coast. We are expanding. We got a couple international locations now. But for you guys, what's important is what's around here. We do have 3-4 locations with less than an hour drive. So what that means is we're more than one person, we're more than one shop and location, a lot of resources. Longview, Portland, Salem, Milwaukee's our headquarters just outside Portland. So, and within that, you've got on the bottom bullet there, technicians, engineers. We got a tower crew. We build towers from the ground up, greenfields, FCC. I mean, we have a lot of resources to help with projects, systems like this. So the other thing I wanted to touch on is you guys have a Motorola system that we are a Motorola partner. We're at the highest level. They have elite status, which means we're kind of an extension of Motorola. Ways, yeah, certified technicians, pricing, contracts, and like that. So, and you guys are surrounded. You look at the city of Portland, Cressa, Vancouver, of course, over the hill there, you got Washington County, Blackett, WCN. We're always working with those guys in those systems. So just wanted to touch on that real quick. Since the next slide. All right, I'm gonna let the brains here, I'll let Chris talk about what we're actually here for today.
You bet. So obviously these are your sites. They're all in pretty poor condition equipment wise from an obsolescence. There's definitely antenna issues that we've seen. You see them in your monthly PM reports. A lot of, as Tom Northwest mentioned, a lot of receipt problems that need to be addressed. We're doing a more of a systemic approach in that we're doing all the antennas and the receive path and chains at all of the sites to bring them up to a modern supportable level, better sensitivity, just, all in all, a better antenna system. Really what this is doing is just fixing your ears and your mouth a little bit. It's not, taking care of the body. The body's still pretty cancerous and pretty old. So, it's kind of a Band-Aid in one regard because, we're still sitting on equipment that we're having a hell of a time maintaining. Motorola hasn't made any of this gear in 15 years. So, the two techs that we have that do your Gold Elite, your dispatch software and equipment, Earl's retiring this year and I'll be the last one. So they're running out of time on that too. So, anyway, so this is an example of what we're going to do. Indoor multi-couplers, pre-selectors, 1/4-inch super connectors, outdoors, same basic thing, new hardline, new antennas, standoffs, etc.
That was just a sample of like one site to give you an idea of what we're doing. Like, what are you guys doing out of one of these sites? That was just a quick little equipment list of some of the things that.
And this is kind of the two and where we're going. This is kind of an older style pre-selector. We're going to a more modern style, better capability. Same with the receive multi-coupler packages, changing those into this package here. We're going to do obviously complete. Too far. Complete turnkey, all complete removal, installation, testing, obvious, as-built and, return loss sweeps as well, et cetera. So we'll have that package for you guys at the end. Here's our pricing summary.
Yeah, the price, so again, you guys asked for kind of break it apart, indoor, outdoor. That's just a quick summary. The details are in the proposal. It's in there. Couple things to note, contract pricing, it was asked, do you guys can utilize pricing and contracts? And we have a partnership with Washington County. And it's been already gone through the RFP and the negotiating process, and we've been using it throughout the state of Oregon. So it's already negotiated pricing both on equipment and on labor. So that's how we utilized and how we priced out the project. The other one is prevailing wage rates. Say that 5 times. Prevailing wage rates are included in there, which is either piece project. Yeah, that's kind of it on the. And then one last slide, something to think about here, guys. So we are currently the partner for this district and this county to maintain the system. So if someone else comes in to make some modifications, make some changes, do some updates, upgrade, whatever is going on, for us to continue to maintain your system and keep it going, we're going to have to go through and do some verification and some testing. So there will be some additional fees and costs for us to make sure that we're comfortable maintaining it after the fact. We might not know what's going on. So I don't know if you wanted to touch on.
Yeah, it's just that, there's a lot of fragile components in your systems at your sites, and if folks that are unfamiliar with it have the potential to break it, and obviously that'll be above cost, above contract to fix whatever that may be. Don't know what it would be, but it could be significant. And then also the danger of having folks that don't know exactly what they're looking at, potentially taking sites down for hours, days, etc. So I just want to caution against that a little.
That's pretty much it.
Beyond that, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. And so you've got the pricing details in the sheets. Any questions? Yeah, please.
Richard?
I appreciate you sharing that information at the end about the components of the contract. I also appreciate you identifying that you have been the vendor responsible for maintenance of the system. But I'm a little confused as to why some of that was included at the end of the conversation, other than there is another vendor that's being looked at. But as somebody on this board and as a user of the system, I feel like we're in a situation where we're skirting around the issues where you guys haven't done your job.
Okay.
And if you're talking about these are the things that need to be maintained, why wasn't this brought up before?
Absolutely.
Well, I'm not done yet.
Sure, go ahead.
If we are the people that are supposed to survive on this radio system and the director's not doing their job, then why haven't you come to us and said, hey, in this public meeting, you need to understand that you're going to need to spend some money. But I think we're a little bit beyond that. I do remember a situation where Bay Wireless forgot to turn one of the sites back on for a period of time.
I was beat back on the field at Corey, so you were up at Corey when I
don't want to get into the details, but what I want to hear
for about 5 minutes, we had that site off because anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Based on this presentation, why should we stick with you guys? Clearly our system is in a state of repair that it shouldn't be. And I would expect that anybody that is working for our agency, Scappoose Fire, if their job is maintenance and they're not telling us that we need to replace stuff over time and it hasn't come up, I got a problem with that. So I think for the group, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, why would I ever consider you guys when we have another option that's pretty much within the same ballpark? And I don't mean to be accusatory in any of the questions, but I think for the safety of our communities and at least the personnel under the Scappoose Fire District, I don't know how I could ever think to make a recommendation to stick with a vendor that has underperformed.
Sure, sure. The simple answer is that we've been waiting on you guys. We've been waiting on this group to make a decision for over a decade. And we've not wanted to throw bad money after, or good money after bad, waiting for the next thing. I mean, that truly, I mean, you can feel my frustration. I know that you are all frustrated. We are in such a technical pickle that, you know, if we lose a radio at a site, we may lose a channel forever because we cannot fix it anymore. That's really the rawness of where we're at and how we got there. I did actually bring Bald back online probably 4 or 5 years ago through kind of my own investigation and effort to try to get you guys back some coverage there. Unfortunately, the microwave link is so old it finally died again and is irreplaceable, you know, not replaceable right now. And I'm a little curious about why we would put a link in that isn't part of our existing M&I link. If we're going to bring Bald back, it needs to be the exact same equipment that's at all sites. So that needs to happen too.
Yeah, obviously there's more technical aspects to this that, you know, I think are outside of the purview of the discussion.
Yeah, we've wanted desperately to change every ounce of everything in your system. Motorola's promoted.
I'll add,
But it's documented, like, is there?
We've done complete
presentations, system presentations, we have console, I know consoles are failing. We have multiple different.
Your consoles are the last gold elite in the region, and I brought Wacka's shit to Astoria's place and rebuilt it there to buy you 1 year, and now you're upgraded out of it and done, and you brought it back here just in case I have to do it again. I mean, we're hauling just garbage around the region and making it work, getting it as good as it can, but it's got to go.
And we do have a chief.
I'm going to clarify something you said. One of the things we heard at these meetings is that our systems for X number of years were not maintained.
And that's not the case.
Like it was for so many years they weren't maintained. That's why they're in the disarray they are now.
No, they've just aged. You know, there was some talk of GPS references. They're working. You may not have indications, but they're working. Otherwise, the radios don't have a frequency reference.
No, I'm actually glad that Mr. Larson brought that up.
Right word, right? Preventive maintenance wasn't done for so many years. To me, it's like the core. When I heard your question, that's the core. What I think of is preventive maintenance weren't done for X number of years during your contract phase. And this is being neutral as well. I'm not.
Yeah.
If it wasn't done for X number of years, but the contract was with you as a part of the contract. Where we stand now, like back to your question with that. So I'm trying to
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, we'll look at the Bald Hill site. That's the one with the cow problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how did that not get brought up? Like,
we've always dealt with the cows out there.
No, but to the point where like the shielding on the cable was rubbed off and when
he's talking about the guying.
Yeah.
The guying for the tower structure support, not RF.
guide wires.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cows are rubbing the wire.
So just to make sure I understand, and I know the sheriff's got his hand up, so I want to be respectful of his time as well. Based on what you're saying, you've provided input to the 911 district and the board has decided not to move forward with enhancing or system upgrades. Is that accurate?
In the year I've been here, the discussion's been being kicked around since the day I started about this work. It's been a year that we've been working on trying to get approvals and move forward with the work.
Right, but you said 10 years.
I'm happy to provide proposals that I've seen provided to the board.
I can tell you from before I got here, as far as I know, there's been no concerted effort to do the ongoing maintenance because there wasn't originally a plan in place to purchase an 800 system. So that money was in savings when that money fell through. And now that we haven't had a levy, that money's been redirected from that equipment fund to help sustain our ongoing general fund and to keep our doors open. And with the year after year repeated unsuccessful attempts at levies, that money has been, as we'll discuss here in a little bit, been dwindled down to pretty much nothing. So yes, I mean, there has been some of that ownership is on this district for not having the funding to be able to continue the ongoing work that should have been done. And there has been years where the maintenance, preventive maintenance tests weren't accomplished just because of lack of staff to push the projects through, the wanting to save the money, organizational changes. There's all sorts of excuses or reasons. Regardless, it didn't get done. And so some of that ownership does fall on this district. And to say Today Wireless's argument, they have been involved in this district in a long time, and I do know of at least a couple of other projects and proposals they've put forth that never got funded.
No, fair enough. That was helpful. I think some of that needed to be,
There's been some, yeah, definitely.
daylighted out
We could-
for the group.
And I mean, there's a fairly current proposal.
And the options too, whether it's your system or tying into another system, there's,
Yeah, we,
there's history.
every potential way you could go has been put. So.
To be fair to the presenters, do you have any questions about their presentation? Because we can discuss this further.
My question's been answered. Good, thank you.
Somebody back there.
Sheriff Pixley?
Yeah, Mike, I just want to kind of echo what Chief Pritchard was saying. And I know Jeremy, I know you taking some ownership for the district. But there's some ownership on the backs of Day Wireless too. You guys say you've provided these things, but there's been no preventative maintenance done over the years, as far as I've been told. So that's kind of where I just want to echo what Chief Pritchard was saying. And I understand that we have some onus on us, but you guys have some onus on you as well.
Of course. We're certainly not flawless. But I would say we're fairly responsive. When you guys call, we come running. Did you have a question or just, we definitely, there's no doubt that the responsibility is on us as well.
Now, my question was just, I just want to support what Chief Pritchard was saying, and add my quick little 2 cents.
You bet. And part of the PM issues, I think, was a lack of giving you the data, that we had it. Nobody really wanted it. So it wasn't really, there wasn't a convenient mechanism to do it, which is no excuse either. But we're at your guys' sites often, doing work for others as well. And anytime we have a site outage, I mean, we have to go. It's your system and we maintain it and we're the only ones that can. So you've done a decent job in my opinion.
Mr. Curious, what year is this equipment from? When was this?
So at EO, like the MTR, the heart of your system, I put a document together that had all of the end of life. I think the MTR 2000 went into life 15 years ago. So
do we know when this stuff was actually installed?
I don't know. It was pre-me, so over 23 years ago.
I can tell you the consoles and dispatch are probably
They're ancient.
just in 30 years.
I upgraded
started on
25 years ago from push button roll lead to this roll lead. So it's that the card cage actually has a Motorola embossed 1987 on it. So that's the vintage.
So, and that equipment that, we've acquired equipment from Astoria, which is where I came from, because they acquired it from C800 Clackamas Group when they went and modernized. And now we have Cowlitz County that's offering us some of their old parts because everything else is coming off eBay to replace those parts. So one way or another, those prices are going up because those parts are getting fewer and farther to get your hands on. And now you're going to eBay, which there's no warranties or anything. You're buying used stuff and you don't quite know what you're getting your hands on. We haven't had to do that yet, but we're not far from being in that big.
Chief.
Realistically, we're looking at generations of failure here, not just right now and present. It's a plan that was never put in place. It should have been many years ago. So we can probably move on to.
There was quite a bit of money set aside to go towards the tower we built several times. So it's not like there wasn't, if I remember correctly, wasn't CCOM pretty much like debt free over and over and over until recently?
So let's talk about, let's finish their presentation. Chief Elon had a question and then we can talk about that.
Just a question. Thank you both for your presentation. I appreciate it. So these repairs were done by either party. How long would those repairs possibly last while additional funding Just out of curiosity.
Estimate. An antenna system in the air done well, 15 years would be easy. So you're not going to make 15 years with these radios. It's not going to happen. I can tell you that right now. So they'll be completely viable for the next whatever. Motorola would typically want to replace everything as a, valid new system, which most manufacturers would as well. But we can get the concession to use your antennas, so we wouldn't have to replace them again.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions for Dave Wireless? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So now that both presentations are done, there were some questions and some comments. Would you guys like to discuss it for a little bit before we move on to our next topic? Okay. Open the floor.
Understood that CCOM was like debt-free or worked money ahead. It had a lot of money set aside for grants and match grants. And that's where we were at before this last levy failed, I believe, is we were looking at grants to match.
It's been prior to my joining the organization. So so probably the first time it failed would be my guess, which is 3 years ago now. Yeah. 24.
So there's always a plan in place, and that's being saved up and set aside through proper accounting. Doesn't mean the system was perfect, but it was, I think someone said 10 years of progress.
In reality, the system should be brought up to a modern system, and then a scheduled maintenance approach should be put into place to replace things on a normal. The problem is we're so far behind the game. We're making little steps forward and hoping that we're not taking a big step back by something failing.
And then once the levy failed, it puts us in pulling out of savings and set aside to match grants and stuff.
Yeah, matter in fact, and we have this number in some of the other stuff we put up there about the financial system, financial situation. At the end of this budget year, we're going to have about $100,000 in that equipment fund, and that's if we fund this project out of the money I have in savings. You guys decide to make that recommendation, and the board approves it. By the end of the year, with transfers outside of that to our general fund, we'll have about $100,000 left in the equipment fund.
That's a calendar year.
That'll be as of next July, will be at the end of the fiscal year. So the reality is, we're in a position right now that, and without a levy in place, there is no money in the fund to be able to put back into savings to move this project forward. That well has run dry. There is nothing left. And part of that conversation about that we're going to have here shortly is ways of looking at funding that process, whether it be under a separate organization or still under us, but with some help from the users. And I don't want to get too far off topic. I know we got a couple people that have their hands up. So
Sheriff Bixley.
So are we going to vote to make a recommendation to the board over one of these two today?
that would be my request of you, is to make a vote for which project you would want to move towards, which would Bay Wireless or Communications Northwest, for me to take to the next board meeting and say the advisory committee has taken a vote and this is their request, so that we can try to move forward with that process.
Is that something I need to make a motion on, or is that something we're going to tackle later in this meeting?
Is there more discussion?
And I guess the question is if there's more people that want to have discussion before a motion was to be made.
So with that, we could move it to the round table for further discussion at that point and make it, and then we can call for a vote. Chief?
Got a question. So have you reviewed both of these, Jeremy?
I just got them last night, so I've done a real high level scope. I looked at the dollar amounts. I've looked at both the reports to in depth. Nathan and I actually condensed it a bit to make it a little more, because the original report we got from Comms Northwest after their maintenance was 80 plus pages of documentation. It's a lot of really good documentation. So looking at the financials, the bottom line is they're both very similar in price. How that price breaks down and what we're getting for those prices is where you see the big difference. To note, there is a labor cost with Communications Northwest. Bay Wireless doesn't have labor involved in theirs. It's all just kind of hit or miss on how they throw that dollar amount at you. The one thing that we do get.
So I just want to make it, labor is included, service, any equipment.
Is included in that cost. Okay.
That's what the professional services charge is, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so thank you. And so to have that additional conversation, yeah, I mean, it's their recommendations based off of their experts. It's kind of like doctors. Both of them have a different avenue that they think's the best approach to it. Which one is the best approach based off of these? They're both a lot of information, and they're good information. I do have to say that, to Pritchard's point, Day Wireless has been our company for 16 years. And the position we're in isn't wholly on them. It is some on the district. But at the same time, they also have the history with that equipment and that system, to Chris's point, that if something goes wrong, they're the ones that have done the work on it the last 16 years. Does that guarantee them that they should be the one we go with? I guess that's a better question for you guys. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. They're great people. I have a great relationship with them. We worked well together, and they do come running when we need them. But I don't know that that's not what we're going to see from Communications Northwest if they're given the opportunity.
Chief Pritchard.
Yeah, so I guess in the interest of time, I think it's incumbent upon us to not kick the can down the road anymore. We need to get a motion on the floor. We need to make a decision because the system's not getting any younger. And in order for us to get closer to that 100%, this work needs to start tomorrow. It's just one person's opinion. I know we have some financial challenges, but the work's got to start one way or another. Because if we don't do that, all of us are going to run into some pretty significant problems, probably sooner than we want. So I don't know if this has to go to the roundtable, but I'd say we do this now.
So here's my question. We're gonna spend $236,000. And how much more life are we gonna get? Versus if we don't spend anything.
I think the challenge is if we don't spend money now, there's a greater chance the system will fail.
I agree with you.
We need to
Fail sooner.
stabilize the system.
The system is failing us as it is. We don't do anything. We continue to increase officer and firefighter safety.
Correct.
Something needs to be, I get your point. I truly do, but the holes that we have right now are great.
Before we can talk about the future, we need to stabilize the now.
I completely agree with you.
Nathan, did you have something?
Chief Brody.
Chief Brody?
Me? You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just have a question. I wasn't able to look over the quotes and I might have missed something in here. But do the proposed quotes, bids, do they also include preventative maintenance? If so, for how long?
So we currently have an active contract with Day Wireless for ongoing maintenance of the system. We have a contract in place for the ongoing care. We do not currently have an ongoing contract with Comms Northwest, though they have told me that they would be interested in potentially providing us that quote if we were interested in it. So the current contract, to my knowledge, does not currently include the maintenance contract for them, but we do have one currently in place with Day Wireless.
So should one of us make a motion? Is that where we're at?
We're at.
I'd like to bring up that there's a $34,000 labor difference between the two. So.
Mr. Director, look at the report. So it's $400,000. That's already set aside. That's in the budget, or is that?
So what we have an equipment fund that is set aside currently that is at Mickey, it's what, 3.6 in this budget?
That was the beginning balance of the equipment fund. We had to take 1.6 from that just to make budget. And in order to make sure that my general fund has enough money prior to property tax coming in, I will have to take another 1.5 out of that, which leaves approximately $400,000 or $500,000.
So the number that I used on this other document, the 400,000, was kind of a high-end budgetary number for us, knowing that both of these quotes came in underneath. But if something was else to go wrong in that process, or they find something else that has gone down, we're going to have the money to replace it. So
Thank you for point of clarification. One other question. If you go with Communications Northwest, then does Day Wireless have to come behind and confirm their work? And what's the cost for that?
For us to continue a maintenance contract with Day Wireless will have to be on site to guarantee that work because they're going to provide us the ongoing maintenance of said equipment. They're basically ensuring that that work is done. So there will be a cost coming from them. What that cost looks like, I don't know if there's a way to necessarily estimate that just because of how many hours they're going to have to send somebody out to double check the work the Communications Northwest does.
I see Josette is asking, when does Day Wireless's contract end?
Day Wireless's contract was just renewed at the beginning of this year. So technically 2031, though I do believe there is an out clause in it. I want to say it's a 60-day out clause, maybe a 30-day out clause. So we could provide notice and back out of that contract if that was something that you guys would have the flavor to do. But that is a process we'd have to undergo as well if that was the choice that was made.
Mr. Chair, are you entertaining motions at this point?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we continue with Communications Northwest.
So just clarify, Sheriff, the contract you're looking at is with Communications Northwest. Is that your recommendation?
Yes,
Your
sir.
motion?
Yes, sir.
Motion's on the floor. Do we have a second? And motion has been made and seconded. Discussion?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned. I appreciate the motion and probably the thought process of trying a new vendor, but I'm concerned that we would be opening a can of worms, working with a vendor that's outside of a contract that we already have. Is that my number one choice based on history? No. But I think that seeing as all of us in this room, including the 911 district board, are also reticent in jumping on stuff sooner, we can't just fault Day Wireless. So I think everybody needs to think long and hard before they make a final vote based on the motion and the second that's on the floor. But again, just to clarify, knowing that the costs are so close, I don't necessarily see a difference in what we're going to receive in terms of product. I think we've met the requirements of, getting a second opinion. I think that we need to be very careful about contractually what that's going to do to the district. In addition, if we go with Com Northwest, having to pay extra money, which we don't have, based on the current discussion on budget, to have Day Wireless chase that work seems silly to me. I mean, they know each other, but it is what it is. It's in the contract. That's all I have for the discussion. Thank you.
I'd like to add that I think what you're hearing is a lot of frustration with Day Wireless, and that if they've been out there doing the PMs in the past, why weren't these things brought to other people's attention sooner, and why weren't they fixed? But I agree with Chief Pritchard, is that we're going to spend more and cost more to get the same thing if we change companies.
From my perspective, it's going to hurt. At some point, we're going to have to bite the bullet and make a change. I think, and potentially make that change. I think now is the time to do that. When we start pushing that rock down the hill, we need to make sure it gains momentum. And we need to make a change at some point. I think this is that point.
Yeah, Sheriff Pixley, I respect what you're saying. I do think the conversation about a change is warranted. But as Director Heitz just pointed out, we renewed the Day Wireless contract, and I think we need to go through the process of ending that Day Wireless contract before we all of a sudden say we're going a different direction, because without us reviewing what the language is in that contract, it may cost us a lot of money to just say we're out. I'm pretty certain that one of our fire district neighbors is going through a process right now of learning the hard way of what happens when you end a contract without following all the steps. And again, I want to support what you're saying. We do need a change. It is time. But I don't think it would be appropriate if we just arbitrarily said, yep, we're out, without fully understanding the scope.
If that's the case, then all due respect, Chief, I think then the vote to which contractor to go with is premature then. I think we need to look at what it would look like to potentially change vendors for preventative maintenance before we make this vote.
That's a great thought process, but I feel like if we go down that path, we're going to end up in the same situation that we've been since we first decided that we were going to go with an 800 system, and people keep interjecting, well, you got to look at this, or you need to do that, or you need to do this. We're well beyond that point.
Yes.
And I can't in good conscience kick the can down the road anymore.
I agree with that, but if we're making votes based on contracts that, from what I'm hearing, no one is really happy with, then we're kind of doing the same thing.
Chief Brody?
I spoke
I've had my hand up here for a while. I got something I want to say. That, I'm listening to both Chief Pritchard and Sheriff Pixley right here. And I just want to be clear that before we engage in anything like this, we need to know the total cost, and preventative maintenance is a huge part of that. We have a contract with Day Wireless. We know that cost. But I think before we make this question, we need to find out what the cost would be for preventative maintenance with Communications Northwest and see if those are comparable. And we got to make sure that Communications Northwest, or if we stay with Day Wireless as our preventative maintenance, that they're willing to work on the stuff done by Communications Northwest. I'm not entirely convinced that today we have all the information, but I would certainly entertain the idea to meet again in a couple of weeks when we have these numbers in front of us to make a decision then. That's all I have.
Any other comments for
I think Joe back then.
Joe? Go ahead.
As Jeremy, you said you got this last night and did a high look at it. Have you or Nathan been able to look at the difference in the two quotes on, like you said, the costs of both quotes are pretty comparable. What is the difference in equipment that is offered by each vendor?
As far as equipment, I'm not an engineer, radio engineer. So to sit and look at the equipment, it's really hard for me to give you an idea. The one thing I will tell you that is included in the Communications Northwest quote is the equipment for Bald Hill that is not functioning that needs to be replaced. Now, I will say that we're waiting on the equipment that we purchased to come in. This is not on Day Wireless. I want to be very clear. There is a network company that we use, MNI, who's in the middle that has to program that equipment. And we have had a really hard time getting a hold of them as of late. They have the replacement equipment sitting there waiting to be programmed. And Nathan and I and a third party that's trying to assist has been reaching out to them, and we have not been able to get our equipment out of them yet. So that being said, Comms Northwest does include that equipment. Now, is it better to buy the equipment when we have other stuff waiting? Or do we continue to beat the dead horse trying to get that equipment out of the other company, or just go after them and say, we want our money back, we want our equipment, give it to us? So as far as looking at the equipment's concerned, Communications Northwest would provide us that equipment in their quote to fix it immediately, where with Day Wireless, we're still having to fight to get that equipment. Outside of that, the equipment that most of the stuff that we're talking about is a lot of coaxial, a lot of multi-couplers. My understanding of that equipment is that, it's more kind of a preference to a company or based off contract with companies they have. The majority of it is not anything that's going to be significantly better than any other. It's just the preference of the company on what they use or with contracts they have signed. Gentlemen, if you guys have anything else to say about that, please speak up if I'm out of place on my thought process there. But companies are companies. They all provide the same equipment. It's just a different brand name and a different, some different life. And I don't understand that equipment well enough to be able to give you a really good statement on what a multi-coupler might be better than another. I just don't have that background.
So Director Hypes, remind me, how long have we been waiting to get this worked out?
So I started meeting with Day Wireless a year ago when I started. I'm actually just a couple days shy of my start date last year. And I've been trying and working and setting up preventive maintenance, looking for reports, getting reports. We've spent time and money doing the research on this. I was requested to go out and find another company to provide another set of eyes, which is what Communications Northwest was brought forth for. We reached out to 3 companies. One company didn't even respond to us. Communications Northwest did. Day Wireless would be the 3rd company. So Comms Northwest sat down and said, this is what we can do. We started that preventative maintenance that they did the 2-day period of time to provide us the report. Well, there's been a lot of process. We've talked about it at board meetings, board of directors meetings almost monthly since I took over. Trying to find a solution that we could get a vote out of the board of directors. Of course, knowing that the money is drying up, they're being cautious on pulling that trigger. Nobody wants to waste money because we don't have money to waste. So they've been trying to have enough information to make a decision, which is why I'm here in front of you guys. Part of the reason why the advisory committee exists is to provide advice to the board on what they want to see happen. I thought by bringing it to you guys, allowing you guys to ask those questions is the right way that this district should be operating. You guys should have the opportunity to make advice to the board and to move forward.
And just one more follow-up question. And you felt comfortable enough with Day Wireless that you re-upped their contract?
I was comfortable enough with Day Wireless to re-up their contract because they did come to me, throw themselves on their sword, admit that they had some shortcomings in following procedures, and so we understood that as well. And because they had been our company of contract, we were trying to go sole source with our company of contract to get that work replaced. Because the board requested additional companies to provide their eyes, that's where we're at now.
Thank you.
For just further discussion?
Yes, not to beat the dead horse, but I agree with Chief Brody. I think only $400,000, and like we manage a budget and that money go quick. I think we should do our due diligence, maybe propose a special budget committee in August before we can digest this and make sure we have a good idea. I understand the sense of urgency while you worked along I have at Columbia County. But I think a few more weeks is very important with that bottom line, if possible.
We're working on rescheduling our July meeting for potentially the week of the 10th of August. We could do a dual meeting. We could hold our meeting beforehand so you guys could view the information. And then right after that meeting, the directors would be able to meet. And that way it's all in one day. If you guys want to go out 2 weeks and do a special meeting, Mary Jo can certainly send out some dates to you guys as well to try to make those happen on the same day or at least in the same week, if at all possible.
That's my recommendation.
Chief Pritchard?
Yeah, I appreciate both Brody and Llewellyn bringing to our attention. It wouldn't be bad to get a little more information. I'm concerned about waiting too much longer. Our system is not online, and there is some challenges with Bald Hill not being online that our agency has been suffering with for a while. So we're at the point where I don't care what vendor we use, we need to get that thing back online. But in the interest and spirit of collaboration, if the majority of our team is saying, hey, let's take a beat, then I think we can get behind that. But, you know, do we really need to wait 2 weeks? Can we do this in a week? I mean, fire season is cranking. And I mean, I just got back from a 14-day assignment, and there's a good chance I'll be right back out, and several of our other staff from around the county. So,
and I think some of the timeline is to Communications Northwest to be able to provide us what that maintenance contract would look like. I don't know what the turnaround time is on that. I will talk to them and try to get that rolling immediately to see what we can get out of them. And then if we can do it sooner, we'll reach out and try to arrange it sooner. Worst case scenario, we'll try to aim it for a combined meeting with the board of directors.
But we do have a motion and a second on the floor, so.
Yes, we do.
So
I would be
Motion to be
willing,
withdrawn.
I would be willing to withdraw my motion if we postpone this for a week or two to get further information.
I assume there's a cost to get out of a contract.
I would have to meet with Day Wireless to discuss that. Looking at the contract, it doesn't list the cost in there. It's just and provide them notification, but I will meet with them and have that conversation as well to make sure we have all the info present for when we have the meeting.
Any further discussion? Sheriff Pixley, your motion is on the floor. Are you considering withdrawing your motion?
If we set this up for a special meeting for within the next couple of weeks, so we can have further information, then I will withdraw my motion.
Let's put it on the books right now.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Did you have something you wanted to add?
I just want to make sure that Jerry, as the one that seconded, was good with that.
Yes.
This director, when's the next meeting?
We're in the process of trying to reschedule now. We're aiming for the week of the 10th. As soon as we have some dates, I will reach out to you guys to make sure that you also have an opportunity to speak up.
Okay, so Sheriff Pixley, you withdrawn your motion. It's been withdrawn.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Second. Okay, so we will table this until the potential August 10th meeting with some further information out to the group and allow the CCOM staff to review it as well and find out to answer those questions that a lot of the members had.
I included some information in there about the current financial position of the radio system. We've kind of talked about that already, but just to give you an idea that the outlook is $100,000 at the end of the budget year left in our equipment. Without the passing of a levy, do not foresee us being able to move any money into that equipment fund for any future care, except for what interest we accumulate that we might be able to put aside in that, which is not much. It's less than probably estimated under $100,000. So I'll be honest with you, the financial outlook of the system is bleak at best. Without a levy, and I know at least a couple of agencies in this room are going out for a levy. I don't know that we have the potential of passing a levy anytime soon without making some concerted effort, one on the radio project, but also from some of the policies and procedures that we've been trying to get done for months on end, the board of directors. Honestly, is if we can't make headway within our own organization, we're going to have a really hard time convincing the voters that we need, that we deserve a levy. So I'm just trying to make sure you guys are aware that I would like to discuss either Chapter 190, separating the radio system's ownership from the district into a separate entity, which we talked about prior with the sheriff had brought it up at a prior meeting and we had a conversation about what that would look like. I'm looking for a recommendation if we should follow that path to see what that looks like, or would you guys rather us continue to house that organization under us and look at other funding sources like user fees specifically based to try to fund the updating of the radio system? Now, that is something that we can discuss at the advisory committee on what those fees would look like. We can make a recommendation to the board to approve those fees. That would be a function of the advisory committee and an option open to you. We go to a Chapter 190, we would have to elect a board from amongst that 190, which would be all of the emergency responders in the county who wanted to sit on that seat. And then those people would make that recommendation and we would bill that as an entity. Now, there's pluses or minuses. Going to a Chapter 190 no longer hangs the sole responsibility of the system on the district, but the advisory committee theoretically is just a Chapter 190. That's your guys' role, is to provide advisement for those things. So do we create another governmental entity by contract that everybody share, all the first responders share the ownership of that system and have a vote amongst their elected officials? Or do we just continue forth as way we are and look at different funding options, whether that be us, all of us providing user fees, us providing the ongoing maintenance and making sure that stuff gets done I guess nobody's got the money. I mean, let's be real. We all know that everybody's in a different position, and here some of the agencies in this room are in a much worse position than others. But with me not being able to spend guaranteeing money coming through the door to put into that fund, I can't sit here and look you guys in the eyes and tell you I'll continue to maintain a system if I don't got money to pay for it. That would be totally irresponsible of me to tell you guys that and allow the system to sit and degrade any more than it already has. So I guess I don't necessarily need an answer from you guys today. I'm opening up the discussion. If you guys wanted to make a motion to make some sort of a recommendation to me to move forward, I provided you that sheet that was in there as a way to help you kind of understand the differences between what 190 would be, and also kind of some dollar amounts for you to look at. As it is, the conversation has not happened with the board of directors yet, but there is potential that we may have to go out for user fees to the agencies just to continue to make our general fund float. So that being said, none of us, I'm not unaware of the type of financial situation every agency in this room is in. Some of us are much closer to their organizations ceasing to exist than others. So when I sit here and tell you that I'm talking that I may have to go to my board of directors to make a recommendation for user fees, that is with a very heavy heart and the understanding that it is just pushing even more financial responsibility on you guys.
So by what you mean, 190 is taking the maintenance part.
Yes.
That that CCOM has been responsible for or taking under their belt for all these years and putting it onto another agency, correct?
Basically creating a new agency of all of you guys at one. It's a contract between the cities and the district saying, here is a new body that you guys all have a say on what we spend every year on that maintenance. So if next year you can't afford it, you have an equal vote on that board to say.
Not what you spend every year. Not what you spend every year.
Well,
because if you're removing the maintenance of the radio system from yourself,
it would create a new entity that would own the radio system.
Correct.
Which is
my question about that is if there's no funding now, where does that funding come from?
Well, that would be
user fees.
We'd have to find a way to make it work. So to be honest with you, creating a new entity, though, is an option. I don't know that it's really any different than us keeping it and maintaining it and asking you guys.
More meeting than user fees versus user fees. I was gonna say, with all due respect, we have one board now that we can't accomplish anything with.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna create two boards that are now going to try and work together with one operating dispatch and one operating the radio system. And it seems like all we're doing is taking CCOM and we're dividing and conquering it. And I for one don't want to dissolve CCOM or create another entity.
That's why I brought this up at this table, because I think it's important. You guys have an inherent attachment to this system, just like I do. You guys have an equal say. As an advisory, you guys can make advice to me. I can take it to the board. The board can move forward with it. There has been questions about 190s that have been brought up. I'm looking for marching orders for me to go to my board and say, this is what the advisory committee is looking for. If there is no point in having this conversation about 190, then I'm not going to open that door. But I need advisement from you guys on, would like some sort of a recommendation to say, yes, we want it. No, we don't. Let's look for an alternative funding source, whatever that looks like. If it's just fees on a much smaller level, just to maintain the radio system, because we can just say, this is how much we're going to spend on the radio updates or maintenance this year, and divvy out bills to your organizations that way. That doesn't float my that doesn't pay my general fund, but it at least will help us try to maintain that radio system and move forward. So
I just have a couple questions, if I may.
Yes, sir.
One, if we were to go the 190 route, create a second board, essentially, would us as public safety professionals potentially have a better chance of passing levies in the future? Just something for food for thought. I don't know whether that would actually work or not.
And looking at the legal side of it, of course, I'm not an attorney. We'd have to dig some more into that conversation. But my understanding is I know it's like the C800 system in Clackamas. When they stood up that system, the organizations, the founding organizations on that board, they went out for that bond measure and hosted that bond. I do not believe the Chapter 190 itself can actually go out for a bond. But that doesn't mean the organizations involved can't go out, somebody host the bond and go out and do it. Now, that could be us with all of your guys going as a supporter saying, yes, we need this bond, we need this to pass to take care of our radio system. The other side of that conversation.
That's lipstick on a pig, same thing.
Okay, and so then the other side of that is also with the with that 2.5 million potentially that we're getting from legislator that we're still in the running for from Merkley and Wyden's office, that money is payable to the district. As long we would have to still be an involved organization or one of the potential owners of that system for that money to carry over. So if we were to create a Chapter 190, we would have to be listed as one of the primary agencies for us to continue to get that legislative money. So it may even be a moot point to even have that conversation now, since we still don't know what that money looks like. But I also don't want to necessarily walk away from the potential of us getting a $2.5 million infusion from legislator. They'll pay for radio work.
And my second question, and please forgive me for not knowing this, but is CCOM's tie to the district? Was that predicated on you guys having ownership of the radio system? So if that transitions to another agency, would that then effectively dissolve the district? I don't know.
For the designated funding, or sorry, I'm just
for the when the district was formed, was part of that formation ownership of the radio system? And if you guys divvy out the radio system, would that effectively dissolve the district?
The district has the ability to hand over ownership of said equipment. The founding documents, I believe, was just for dispatch services, though the radio was a conversation that was included in that founding document. So yes, it was part of the original conversation, but I would have to double check to the founding documents to be sure, but I do not believe the radio system is written into that founding document. So we could potentially separate the radio system from the founding document and not dissolve the district. That makes sense?
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate it.
Is it?
So, I guess a better chance of getting grants either way if we're moving toward the.
I don't know that it would necessarily increase our opportunities for grants. There are COPS grants that are directly tied to law enforcement that potentially would open some doors with actual police representation as part of one of the owners on, say, 190. To say we can't as a dispatch center, I don't know of any specific doors that would probably open for us necessarily in the 190. Though having more police and more fire all at the same table signing a document always helps your chances with grants. Interoperability is the name of the game in Oregon right now and nationwide. So anything that we can say takes care of police and fire is definitely something that's viewed a lot differently.
The problem with the COPS grants and a lot of the grants right now is that they're tied to immigration. And so because we're a sanctuary state, we can't apply for those grants.
So I don't know if you guys want to think about the idea more for the follow-up meeting when we have it, to have to follow the conversation. This was more me trying to get some information in front of you guys so you have a realization of what that financial outlook looks like. We're in a very tight position that by the end of the fiscal year, we're not going to have any money that I can dump into that fund to continue to maintain the system. So if we're going to spend the $300,000 now, besides what money I might be able to get out of congressional spending, the bare minimum maintenance may be all I can do going forward. And that's a big maybe, looking at what the budget projections look like.
Mr. Trash, before, do you have any preference at all? I don't want to put your spot if you don't want to answer. That's perfectly okay.
I think they both have, there is, of course, advance or opportunities in both. I do think currently the advisory committee, if people stay engaged and we do this the way it's intended to work, I do think we have that same weight as an advisory committee. but we've got to stay engaged. We've got to continue these conversations. I would like to also recommend as part of that ongoing is potentially attaching this meeting to a director's meeting every quarter. Just have this beforehand so that we can publicly notice it. The directors can all partake and be involved in the meeting, hear what you guys have to say, and then we can close the advisory committee and let the directors move forward, whatever that decision is. This quarterly meeting, separate meetings, sometimes directors can make it, sometimes they don't, is not, I don't think is a healthy way for the organization to go forward, that the advisory committee is going to work the way it's intended to. I know I appreciate all of you guys being here. I've never seen an advisory committee where we've had the galley full, to be honest with you, or even the stable full, except for the last couple, which is important. That means we're on the right path, I think, to getting someplace that we need to go. But that continued attention from the users, the advisory committee to my board of directors is a huge piece of how we move forward. You guys don't necessarily hold the weight, but you guys are very powerful voices at this table, and your opinions do matter and will help drive that conversation. So, something for you guys to think about. Again, we don't necessarily need a recommendation today. I do think you guys want to really think about deeply what the outlook is going to look like and what you guys want to do. And maybe at the next meeting, make some recommendations on what that contract looks like. If we do go with the 190, there's plenty of them out there that we can bring to the table. We had an option brought to us just a meeting or two ago that we could use. We just all would have to sit down. Of course, there's going to be all of us having a chance to look at the language, change the language, throw it in front of our attorneys, and of course, your city councils and board of directors. So it's not a quick process, but it's one that we're going to have to do something with sooner than later, whether it's just batten down the hatches and stick with the direction we're taking, or divide that system from CCOM, I guess is what we're going to have to talk about. So
I don't think the 190 is a direction to go in. I think all you're doing is dividing CCOM and creating another board and more problems. And
I agree.
I would make a motion right now not to explore a 193.
Second that.
Motion is made and seconded. Discussion. So I've been quiet. I don't generally say a lot. Chief Mark's over that. But I'm all about, and I like euphemisms and I also like examples. Our ship has hit the iceberg and it is sinking. I don't think the 190 is another boat that we can take parts off our current boat and give it to this other boat that's also sinking, or using user fees on all of our boats, because we're all out there in the water too, and we're all keeping our boat just above water, but we're going to keep more challenges and more costs on the end user. Ultimately, our responsibility is to the citizens of Columbia County and the people that visit here, and we all remember that. I don't believe the 190 is the direction we should go. Our radio system is going to fail. And when it does, it will be catastrophic. It'll be out there with cups and strings, or us yelling up canyons and having guys on horseback running chasers to bring information out there. And I've been on this committee and part of this group for over a decade now, and I'm just tired of the finger pointing. I'm not saying anybody in the room's pointing fingers, but that's what I feel like. We blame, well, it's the board. Yep, the board has responsibility for 911. Data Wireless, okay, yep, they probably didn't do some stuff. But at the end of the day, is we can keep pointing fingers and the boat's still sinking. And so I love these meetings. I do echo what Director Hype said, that that we're all this is the most law enforcement I've seen, and probably the most fire I've seen in one of these meetings in a while. But at the end of the day, our radio system is going to fail. Our citizens are going to demand why we can't get to that call, or why a police officer didn't show up, or why a fire engine didn't come out to their house. And again, finger pointing is not going to do it. We see it every day in politics. I see it all day. That's why I don't watch the news anymore, because that's all it is finger pointing. We have to get beyond that. We need to advise the board to make a decision, advance this. We need to support however we're going to keep 911 funded. But at the end of the day, is without them and those folks and the dispatchers, our people don't know where to go or who needs help. So I agree with you, Lieutenant, that we don't need that. I don't think we need a 190. I hate the idea of us, piecing this thing out, taking parts off our ship to give it to somebody else. The county isn't the best financially stable organization either. Start heaping more stuff on them. And so together we need to, as a unified group, all of us, police and fire, come together, give Director Hype some direction to take it to the board. And we need to keep our radio system working, whether it's with Communication Northwest or Day Wireless. I don't care. What I care about is I need to know that our folks can get to those calls when people finally ask whether police or fire. So there's a motion made and seconded to not go with the 190.
I actually, real quick, I actually wanted to voice my support. I think a 190 is the wrong path to go. But I also do think that what Director Hype said is something we need to seriously consider, and that's attaching this advisory committee meeting to the board meeting so we can get better buy-in from them.
So the current motion is for not to go with the 190. We could make a second motion after this one. So if we'd like to proceed with a vote, if there's any further discussion on not going the direction of a 190, that's the current motion.
Just one question. User fees will be associated without, if we continue to course, you think, or is that something that's just going to be?
The board of directors would have to make a recommendation on that. My recommendation at this time is going to have to be that we're going to have to find some way to fill our deficit every year, as well as continue the radio maintenance. I will do everything in my power to cut my budget back as much as I humanly possibly can before we put those user fees on you guys. But I also can't allow my services provided to you to go down any worse than they already are. We are already at bare pickings. We are already busting at the seams with call load and not enough time off for my folks. So though I will do everything I can before I pull that trigger, and that's my promise to you guys. We will do everything we can to cut where we can before we make that request. But that is potentially the real future of what this organization looks like should I have to make that recommendation to the directors. And I'd like to say that I'll be able to find a way not to, but a $1.6+ million deficit every year is not an achievable dollar amount to overcome without very significant cutbacks in my service to you guys.
Okay, so it's not concrete. I'm just saying
it's not concrete. The board of directors will make the final decision, and I have not made that recommendation to them yet. But there are some other avenues that we're pursuing now to cut our budgets back a bit to save us some money. But
I just need to, because I have to get approval from the city council and stuff.
No, so and that's something that's going to have to be recommended to the board for the board to have that conversation probably in a pretty significant future after I can figure out some other things.
The reality is your funding has to come from somewhere. And if it's not going to come from a levy, then it's going to get stuck on.
That is correct. And no matter anybody at this table, just for example, say the sheriff or the county, even if the county was to, I've talked to surrounding agencies, they're not interested in taking over our services just because of some of the history of this organization with our liability and ongoing lawsuits. Both BOEC and Washington County have refused to provide me any documentation on what that would cost. Clatsop County doesn't have the manpower. There are less people on staff than what we got. The options for us to find a way to fund this organization are getting further and further away without having to turn to you guys for use fees or to get a levy passed.
Okay, Mark.
Well, even like with Sheriff Bixley, when he was talking about the grant funding that was available, he even said in that meeting, at some point, that radio system would have to implement user fees as well. Yeah. Cost recovery on that. So no matter where, money's got to
no matter which agency holds the dispatch center, whether it's the county or not, the county is going to have to figure out how to come up with our budgeted amount to continue operations. That money is still going to have to come from somewhere. It doesn't, unfortunately, none of these agencies in this county have money to take on our budget. I mean, you take on our budget and throw it underneath your organization, you're all going to feel the same thing. It's the unfortunate position we're all in.
This underlines the importance of the levy and why everybody should support it. The educational part of that is important. And when does the levy come up next?
We could go out in November or May. May would be the absolute, would actually be past the last possible moment if we were to get out. So
there's a motion on the table. Can we vote on that?
Thank you.
All of this is relevant to the motion.
Or discussion for the process. But
Okay, motion been made and seconded. All in favor of some, not, sounds like a double negative, not going with the 190, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, ayes have it. So we're not going forward with the 190,
That's our recommendation.
it's your recommendation.
So now, do we have Jeremy look at other options? The next one?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys would like me to pull up some other ideas of what that looks like, I'm more than happy to do so for the next meeting.
Do we need to go back, prior to that, do we need to go back to another motion to change our time so that it coincides with the board meetings?
You wanting to have like a joint meeting where, I mean, because we've done the joint meetings, or we could have advisory first, say at like 9 or 10 or whatever, and then have board after, whatever you.
And that's kind of what I'm picturing. I don't know if that's what you guys want. If we had one right after the other, or even a conjoined meeting once a quarter, we can do that. And just have everybody all in the same room at the same time. This room's going to get really full if we try to do it that way. But at least then the board members could attend before their actual board meeting to hear the discussion and be involved in the conversation. And then you guys could step out. We can carry on our next meeting.
If that requires a motion, I'd like to make a motion for what Jeremy just said. Have our meetings just before the board meetings. That way the board can actually, the meeting will be noticed potentially, and the board can participate in these conversations. And we can all have all of our questions answered, and they can have the rationale for how we vote.
I will second that.
The meeting is not under rules and regulations, so we can change the time without a motion.
Oh, look at you. You're so smart, Josh.
Well, the question I have is, so we have our advisory committee meeting and all the board members attend?
Then they have to notice it as the district that their board members will be there in the forum.
I just want to make sure we're doing it
Yeah.
correctly.
Correct.
Just like the county, if with the commissioners at the fair, they had to notice it that there's potential and they were recessed, go to the fair.
Sheriff Pixley made a motion that the meeting precede the regular board meeting on the quarterly basis.
Second.
Chief already seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right. Well, I don't know, we're already over on our time allotted. Do we want to do the advisory bylaws conversation now, or hold it for another?
Did everybody get a chance to look at the advisory bylaws that's provided? It's not a barn burner. So my recommendation would be if everyone would like to review these, and at our next meeting, which sounds like it'll be in August, we can bring this back and discuss if there's any changes or updates we want to make to the rules and regulation.
agree with that. Question though, Mr. Chair, is there a page number 2 or is it?
Yes, there is.
Oh.
So we'll send out the full document to everybody.
Yeah, let me resend it because obviously thank you.
Okay, so
Mr.
we'll
Chair, I have
table.
a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to, I would really very much like us to set a date at this meeting for our next meeting. And I would also like to encourage Communications Northwest to get us a preventative maintenance contract so we can look at that by that date.
We don't know yet when our next board meeting is going to be. So we can still push off your guys, then I guess we don't necessarily have to have you guys at that meeting. It'll be the next quarterly meeting. So
I mean, I can stick a doodle to pull out like right after this meeting. Or I mean, is there a day that this really does not work, or?
So that we can attempt.
I just think
Yeah,
it's important to get this meeting done within the next 2 weeks. So.
All right, so let's aim for the week of the August 10th through the 14th. So we'll aim for that. Is any day that week not work for or for people in here?
13th.
10th, 13th does not work for me. 13th, 13th and 14th gone. How does Wednesday the 12th look for everybody?
Wide open.
This is an awfully big group to do this with, but
What time are you thinking, Jeremy?
that's the one day that week that I'm pretty open. So do we want to do noon like we normally do?
I think this sounds perfect first.
Wednesday the 12th at noon, August 12th.
You wanting to do the board meeting on the same day?
We will try to do the board meeting on the same day if we can get them scheduled to do it the same
So do
day.
you want to do advisory earlier?
10 to noon.
Yeah, we can aim 10 to noon.
When's the board meeting normally held?
9 a.m. I don't know if that's going to cause a challenge trying to push that meeting.
Oh, yeah, we'll have to work it out. But at least for this meeting, you don't necessarily have to be a conjoined meeting with them. As well.
And so August 12th, are we still sticking to noon?
We're wanting to give them information on the things, we can have our meeting before there.
And that's the way I have no way of knowing what their availability is at this point. So if we're going to try to schedule it this week, we may have to take that chance of not being able to provide it to them right away.
So
But
why
I
don't we
can
do-
ask.
We'll shoot for earlier though. Why don't we shoot for the 10 o'clock hour? And then if they have a meeting afterwards and
Off chance that they can't.
Okay, so let's do 10 to noon for this meeting. We'll try to get the board meeting right after.
perfect.
And I'll get that out as soon as this meeting adjourns. I'll get that out to the board.
So
Well,
Wednesday the 12th, 10 to noon for advisory committee.
Will there be just, what's going to be on the agenda? It should be just voting on what we recommend for the.
Yes, I'm going to say that agenda should be probably a special meeting just for the video vote and recommendations. So
Well, I don't
we'll
think
have
we
the
need 2
prevent.
hours.
Oh, 10 to noon is what he's saying.
Yeah, we don't necessarily need it to be 2 hours. No, we were just trying to give you a block. You just wanted to do the 30-minute, we could cut it down to 30 minutes. But if there's any discussion, we're going to run into the deadline. So
We're having a board meeting right afterwards, having that 2 hour block, so you stay for 2 hours.
yeah.
That's fine. I just want to make sure that we have that.
Okay. All right.
To the roundtable. Obviously, it's been 2 hours. Does everybody have any gumption to continue on with a roundtable, or would you guys like to make any announcements and then we can adjourn and just plan on being here in 2 weeks?
Yes. Make a motion.
I'll make a motion. We just get past roundtable. We did that.
Okay.
So
I just wanted to, excuse me, Chair, I just wanted to talk about Columbia County Emergency Management.
under announcement. Yes, sir. I was just talking about the roundtable. You want to talk about that?
And just gonna give an update on that.
Yeah.
So, as of July 1st, there is no emergency management department, but the function has been moved to public health. And so Jamie Annenson is providing the emergency management function. She's not titled emergency manager, but she is providing those functions. And Jessica Kosadar is the staff person. So functions continue. Jessica, some of you may already know her, exercises and stuff with public health. But so she is the kind of initial contact, and I can provide that to the group. What that information is, the contact information that you did have for Columbia County Emergency Management should still remain the same, except for Corey's email address. And so it will now be Jessica Kosadar, who is the main contact for that. You guys have any questions or concerns?
Yeah, I do, Mike.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I'm struggling here with, clearly we had an emergency manager and that person went away because they were no longer funding through the county. And now I have public health. What qualifications do they have? Should we have a significant event here in the county to find resources for police and fire or 911 or anything else if we have a flood event or sometime, because winter's coming. I know we all know it's July and it's warm outside, But all reality is we're fall starting here in about 6 weeks. And so my concern is their quals and capabilities, if we truly needed, and knock on wood, Columbia County hasn't had one in a while, but everything that weather's pointing to is somewhere around a 97, 98 weather event, which increases the likelihood of we're going to have flooding or some type of major weather event this winter. And so what's the county's plan? Is it going to stay with public health? Is it going to the sheriff? And if so, who at the sheriff's, ready to handle this? Because we're talking about state and federal resources, right? And being able to find those when it finally hits the fan. Is it we just have it just so we can say we have emergency managers or something that have a spot, or are we going to actually work towards that? What's the county's plans? I haven't heard one.
Right. I have the same concerns, Chief. I think this winter is going to be, we're going to see how this all works out. I think that there's been preliminary discussions, and Sheriff Pixley, if you want to expand on it, there have been initial discussions with the sheriff's office about it eventually landing there. But for this next year, at least, this is where we're at. We're at public health. I'm concerned as well. I know the state Office of Emergency Management has been coordinating with public health and asking kind of the same questions. So what happens when the shit hits the fan? How does the county bring requests up the line and go down the line and all of that? I think that plan has to be established, and I'm looking for that. And we're gonna wait and see pattern.
So from my perspective, Mike's right. We have had some preliminary talks with the commissioners, who's in very much of a hurry up and wait kind of attitude. It seems like they don't want to make a decision. If it does fall under us, Ryan Murphy will be leading that division. So there is kind of a plan in place moving forward. But until the commissioners decide yay or nay, which direction it's going, we're just kind of in a wait and see space.
Fine. Any other announcements? Everybody looks pretty exhausted. It's already a long day.
Just before we adjourn, again, just say thank you, everybody, for your participation. Thank you to Comms Northwest Data Wireless for being here. Taking the shots that were provided, it is appreciated. This is a conversation that's long overdue. This board should have been having this conversation years ago. And there were some conversations, and I just appreciate your guys' ownership in this district and being involved in this conversation. This conversation goes a lot further with everybody's participation and everybody's knowledge. We all come from a different perspective. All of us represent a different organization, and your feedback is immensely important to allowing me the information I need to help make recommendations to my board of directors. So again, thank you for your participation. Thank you for all of those that are online and taking your time to be here. I appreciate having this kind of attendance of these meetings and having the feedback and having those conversations. My understanding is it's been a few years since we've had this kind of attendance. And so I do appreciate you guys and your willingness to participate. So, and if nobody else has got anything, I guess we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Adjourn the meeting at 2:03 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.